Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at when it's week to 10 days in today's video. It's going to take us to around the 29th of the month. So we're going towards the end of December with this particular update. We're in for an unsettled Christmas. It's a case of pinning down the detail on that. The GFS at the moment is churning out some very stormy charts for the northern part of the country around Christmas Day, quite alarming. However, the good news is that the ECWF and to a certain degree the GM are not developing this storm as much. So hopefully, fingers crossed, the GFS is sort of overdoing things with this storm. It does have a tendency to do that a bit. It can wind storms up a bit too much. So hopefully it's overdoing it and it won't be quite that bad. But even so, we are going to get fair old blow, I think, over the Christmas period. And maybe some rains, but it could get quite cold in the north also. So although it's an Atlantic-driven Christmas, I wouldn't be ruling out the chance of some wintry conditions over northern high ground. And this unsettled weather is going to stay with us as we run up towards the new year as well, I think. But I'll show you the detail on all of it in a moment. If anything on with that, just say about the ads. There's links articles on all the pages. Have a browse widgets and click through links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, you're going to help us to pay for our website. Thanks very much for doing that. The shop is still open. It's very late now to get the Christmas presents to you, but you've probably still got time if you pay extra for postage and packaging. So if you want to do Christmas shopping at Amazon, just click the green button that says Christmas Shop, and it takes you to our Christmas Shop page. And from there, you go through the Amazon banners because you've gone from Gas Office to Amazon via every fee on things that you're buying. Been a huge success, so thanks to everybody for doing that again this year. And if you did get your Christmas presents from Amazon via Gas Office, I hope you enjoy them. So we're going to start off with 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts for the next week to 10 days. We've got the ECWF here on the top, and the GFS, which I'll have a look at in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet, is an area in the atmosphere where high pressure, low pressure being moved around by jet stream running above. Red extrapolates to high pressure and blue to low pressure. So the ECWF shows a bit of a ridge out to the southeast of the country as we go beyond Christmas. This takes it to 29th of December. Bit of a ridge there across the southeast of the country with the trough of low pressure, the storm centre really, being kept in the middle part of the Atlantic. We're on the mild side of a jet stream, doing something like that with the jet. So that's fairly pleasant, actually, as we go beyond Christmas. We have this very unsettled weather over Christmas. Beyond Christmas, it turns quite pleasant, I would have thought, with high pressure, at least for a time, ridging up from the south, giving us some sunny and potentially very mild days, because the flow is pushing up from the southern part of the Atlantic Ocean. Now, the GFS is very much more unsettled, so this is the GFS, and it's a similar idea, but the low pressure in the Atlantic is much deeper. The jet stream, instead of going to the north of us, is coming right through the country like that. And this ridge, although it is there to the south and southeast, it's further away. So this is much more Atlantic driven, it's much more unsettled and potentially quite stormy as well. Temperatures at times still fairly mild with air coming up from the southwest, but also at times fairly cool with the air coming down from the northwest. So a mix of air masses on that one as we go beyond Christmas. Some days fairly mild, some days probably quite cool. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. The red line here is 30-year temperature average. This is upper air temperatures, of course. Now, it looks like we're staying quite close to average, really, through the Christmas period. This takes us up towards the start of January, which is just there. Actually, when you look at that, we're very close to the red line in terms of the trend line, which is the white line. However, or the ensemble mean, I should say, which is the white line. However, it's very much indicative of the zonal sine wave here. So what we've actually got is warm sectors and cooler sectors. So, for example, that's a warmer sector just there, and then that's a colder sector. That's a warm sector coming through. That's a colder sector. That's a warmer sector. There's probably a cold sector around there. Then after that, we sort of lose that sine wave, as we normally do, as we get through to the extended part of the ensembles. But although it looks like it's average, with warm and cold sort of balancing one another out, what actually tends to happen with this is that we come out a bit milder than average. And the reason is that even when we're in the colder sectors, particularly for the south, it tends not to be that cold actually, because the air is moving a lot because it's windy and there's normally showery rain coming through, or showers, longer spells of rain coming through. It means that we don't drop down to frost levels, and really at this time of year, cold is considered when it gets frosty. So actually the temperature anomalies, although they look very close to average on the ensemble, temperature anomalies will normally come out milder than average. We go through the extended part of the ensembles, which is this part just here, and the overall trend does look milder than average. Precipitation coming back big time. We've had lots of dry weather, of course, through the past few weeks and months. But it looks like we're in for a proper wet spell a bit through the remainder of the year, really starting from around Wednesday, Thursday onwards, just there, and then just continuing through the remainder of the year and even into the start of 2017. To be honest, it is looking really quite unsettled, with quite a lot of rainfall spikes coming through there. So temperature anomalies, as I say, are coming out a bit milder than average. Look how warm it still is across Scandinavia in terms of averages. Anyway, that's extending into Western Russia now as well. Southern Europe getting the coldest temperature anomalies, particularly still in the southeast. It's been ongoing for quite a long while. Southeastern Europe, so Greece, Turkey, coming out significantly colder than average there. That's where winter is, with the cold air being pushed out of Russia and then down into the southeast of Europe. In the northwest, much milder than average for Scandinavia. It's a fairly cold place, of course, but it is milder than average, significantly so for the UK. Temperature is a little bit above average. That's usually what you get when you're in a zonal Atlantic-driven pattern. Precipitation anomalies generally going a little bit wetter than average through most parts of the country, particularly so for the north and for the west. Many central parts of Europe still hanging on to the high pressure for the next week, which is the 19th, 27th of December, and a lot of dry weather. So this is how we look for Friday. Low pressure is racing in off the Atlantic. That becomes quite a potent area of low pressure to the north of Scotland on Christmas Eve. That'll take a band of rain across the country overnight from Friday into Christmas Eve, Saturday morning. And then we go to sunshine and showers. Those showers could well be wintry in the north, really tight packed ice bars. So winds up to gale force, possibly for Scotland and Northern Ireland. And then the GFS ramps things up further with this next area of low pressure moving into the north of Scotland. That's bringing gales to many northern parts of the country, potentially severe gales going through there across particularly Scotland. Look how tight packed the isobars are. You'd expect gusts possibly up to 70 or 80 miles an hour over exposed northern parts of Scotland with that. And the area is going to the northwest as well, so it's becoming colder all the time through the course of Christmas Day, with these strong to gale force or severe gale force winds feeding in showers to the north, probably turning increasingly wintry. Now, it's not as bad for England and Wales. It is quite windy. Temperatures, the wind could be up to around, say, 30, 40 miles an hour. So certainly windy enough, possibly gusts up to gale force around exposed parts of Wales and southwestern England. And temperatures probably start off quite mild on Christmas Day with a fair amount of rain before cooling off, but not the cold sort of punch from Greenland that we're getting further north. There's the upper air temperatures for Christmas Day, showing we start off really in quite a big mild sector, but by the end of the day we're in a much colder air mass with the air coming out of Greenland. That's particularly so for the northern part of the country, with a -5 isotherm there getting as far south as Wales and the Midlands, meaning that for Northern Ireland and Scotland you would suspect there's a chance of showers turning wintry up there. In fact, let's just have a look at the precipitation type forecast from the weatheroutlook.com for the Christmas period. So this is starting off at midnight on Christmas Eve, Saturday, where it's very wet across England and Wales, but it's already turning more showery for Scotland and Northern Ireland. That rain clears away as we go through the course of Christmas Eve morning into the continent, and then we've got all these showers piling into the north and the west. This is 9 o'clock in the morning, which takes us to midday on Christmas Eve. Lots of wintry showers being suggested there for Scotland. At this point, it's still mostly rain showers for Northern Ireland and Northern England. Not much getting through elsewhere. We go through to the end of Christmas Eve, so into Christmas Eve evening, if you like, and bringing another massive rain associated with that deep low pressure I was showing you on the GFS. That's pushing in towards Northern Ireland and southwestern Scotland. Lots of wet weather coming through there. That comes through into Christmas morning, so any suggestion that we might have started off with a little bit of a frost, a little bit of white on the grass on Christmas morning, I'm afraid that's out of the question, because this just looks very, very wet now, particularly so for the north, but even in the south there is showery bursts of rain coming through. This band of rain pushes southeastwards across England and Wales through the course of Christmas morning, so a proper wet, windy morning for the south. In the north, it's turning more showery and the air's turning colder. So, yes, that is snow being suggested for parts of Scotland coming down in towards Cumbria, perhaps, and through Northern Ireland as well. And these wintry showers continue through Christmas afternoon. There's the rain clearing away from the southeast. The persistent rain takes a long time to go, but it does eventually do so. Then it's these wintry showers up in the northwest, particularly for northwestern Scotland, down into Northern Ireland, and also then through northwestern England and North Wales. If you're at elevation in these areas, you could well see some wintry conditions on Christmas Day. Wouldn't rule out the chance of a little bit of sleet or snow to lower levels in the north, so somewhere like Belfast, Inverness, maybe Glasgow, you could get a white Christmas, or a technical white Christmas there, with a few snow showers coming through. Possibly something being suggested to come down the Cheshire Gap as well by the end of Christmas Day, which is sort of going through northwest England down in towards the Midlands. So maybe Shropshire, Derbyshire might get something by the end of Christmas Day as well. Just wintry showers. We're not talking about big snow depths, anything like that, but wintry showers, and that is enough to get a technical white Christmas if it falls in the right places, because it only takes one snowflake to fall on a designated place, usually an airport or a weather centre. And if that happens, then you can have a technical white Christmas. But there's not going to be widespread snowdrifts or anything like that this year. So beyond Christmas then, we go through to Boxing Day, and it looks cold and showery really there on GFS for Boxing Day. Tuesday tries to build a bit of a ridge up from the southwest. We pull up this very mild southwesterly flow the bank holiday Tuesday, but by Wednesday, 28th of December, breaking that down and returning back to westerly winds again. And then that takes up to day 10, which is Thursday, 29th of December. We're still very flat, very Atlantic driven, particularly wet and windy up in the north. All places looking unsettled essentially up to day 10. ECWF. As I say, it's not as severe with this storm on Christmas Day. So we look on Friday, low pressure developing out in the Atlantic. That becomes a major area of low pressure to the north of Scotland on Christmas Eve. So this is bringing gale force winds to the north on Christmas Eve. It's a very windy day for most places. Cold air could turn showers wintry in the north as well on Christmas Eve. And then this is Christmas Day storm, and it is quite a deep area of low pressure running into North Scotland, but it isn't as bad as what the GFS is doing. It just suggests a classic wet and windy Christmas Day, fairly mild to start off with, then colder as we go through to the latter stages of Christmas Day with wintry showers in the north. This is Boxing Day, and again, it's not as bad as the GFS was looking. So it is unsettled. There'll be showers, maybe long spells of rain, wintry showers in the north, but not the severe gales that we see being suggested by the GFS. It could well be GFS going over the top with this Christmas Day storm. Have to wait and see. We go through to Tuesday and we start to build that ridge to the south, and that eventually ends up putting up some very mild air from the southwest. The air is actually coming from the Azores there on Wednesday, 28th of December, so very mild conditions. Probably a taste of spring even, you would say. And then we go through today, 29th of December, breaking down that ridge and returning winds to the west. It looks an unsettled Christmas, most definitely. We've had a little bit of a change on the extended part of today's GFS. This is the 6 o'clock run, the very latest. I'll just talk you through that. As we go through towards New Year, what happens is that we get this build of pressure out to the west of the country, and eventually that settles over the UK by the start of January. This is Monday the 2nd of January. We've got high pressure through the country. That's within colder air, so that breaks us out of the zonal flow and certainly returns us back to frost and fog. By the time we go through today, day 384 hours away, which I think is about 2 weeks away, or 14 to 16 days away, we find that high pressure eventually going up towards Scandinavia, and the winds there are going into the east, dragging in very much colder air from Europe. So that suggests we get through to the start of January, then it turns much colder. Now, that is very much in the realm of speculation. It looks highly implausible to me that we would break out of this zonal Atlantic-driven weather so quickly. But we have to keep in mind that the CFS, which we've been looking at quite regularly, is indicating the chance of something colder, has consistently been doing so through early January. So if you're waiting for some colder weather and some proper winter conditions, don't despair. It might be we get to January and things are going to look very, very different. We'll have to wait and see. Right, that's all for now. Tomorrow we'll have a look at weather, probably for next month, using CFS. We'll also do the next Christmas update as well tomorrow. Tonight I've got to record, hopefully, if it all goes well, I'm going to be recording our Christmas Day historic video, which we're going a very, very long way back to have a look at the winter of 1878, 1879, the furthest back I've ever been with the historic video. So that, if it all goes well, I'll get that recorded tonight and you'll be able to see it on Christmas Day. Right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.